Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Mastak talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3. And in this particular video, I really want to talk to you about what is a franchise business, how do you actually start a franchise business, and get into some just kind of minor details and stuff like that with franchising. So I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and this is something that we might talk about in a class, for example. By the way, if you're interested, check out where I'm at. You might be able to find a class there. But anyways, what is a franchise business? What exactly is it? Well, this is an arrangement where you you create a franchisor, or franchisees will create some sort of agreement with a franchisee that they sell a part of their business or the way that their business operates to this other entity that operates the business on their behalf. In return, what ends up happening is the franchisee pays them a little bit of money upfront, as well as a little bit of money on a monthly basis, or some sort of maybe it's a quarterly basis or something like that, to own the rights for this particular model that they actually have. So the business model, whatever they actually have, the franchise model might, the stuff that that might be in part of this sort of franchising package might be like the logo, the operation, sort of operational stuff, other parts of the business that, I'm not sure, maybe real estate sort of components of it, just whatever it is. It's kind of, you can design whatever you want, right? So that's the beauty with business, is you design what you want. And as an entrepreneur, if you're creating the franchise sort of relationships and stuff, you design the contractual arrangement to have all of this stuff, sort of set out, and you can create whatever you want, and the franchisee kind of has to accept those conditions in the contract. So for example, I'll give you a couple of examples. Starbucks, for example, they will give you, when you purchase a franchise relationship or franchise from Starbucks, they'll give you, all of the beans, the access to the beans, maybe a real discount on the beans. They'll ship the beans to you. They'll ship you all the machines. They will tell you how to actually do everything. That's called the standard operating procedures. They will, they'll maybe give you discounts on clothing and stuff like that, or maybe a web portal, and, just kind of things like that allow you. They'll give you music, just anything like that. They'll give you, it's a business in a can, is essentially what it is. They give you the business in the can, and you go in and run it. And if you're a really good manager and you could do this really well, whatever the money that you're giving to the franchisors, the people that actually own the business, let's say you give them $1,000 a month, and you do a really good job managing, and you make $2,000 a month, right? You get lots of people coming into your store. You get a lot of people buying things. You get to keep the difference of that, right? So it's $2,000 minus $1,000. You keep the $1,000 and you pocket that, and that is your profit, right? At the end of the day, you take that and you're like, yeah, cha-ching, right? I made decent cash up from that. So that's the basic story of really what a franchising relationship is. So what are the advantages of actually owning a franchise or creating this sort of franchising relationship? There's a lot of different advantages. I'm going to just give you a couple of them that we might talk about in a class, and get into some details and stuff like that in the class. It's kind of really a lot of fun. But anyways, so in terms of the franchising relationship, you might want to have a franchise if you need rapid adoption of whatever it is that you are franchising, right? You need a lot of people to actually jump on board very, very quickly. If you have a particular thing that is going to disappear, right? A taste that's going to disappear, you might want to create a franchising relationship so it can grow very quickly. You can also create a franchising relationship, but it's sort of conditioned on a lot of people adopting before it sort of takes off, and it makes a lot of sense. So it might be the case of, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking right now that might make a lot of sense. Some sort of fashion thing that would sort of depend on, a lot of different conditions that a lot of other people are adopting it, and then it would make a lot of sense. The classic one is U-Haul. U-Haul doesn't work unless they have many different outlets around, around North America or wherever it is that you are. You need those different outlets to take the U-Haul to those other places. So you need that rapid adoption before it makes sense and people are actually going to buy the thing that you actually have. So the franchising relationship makes sense there. The other thing, the second thing that's an advantage of owning a franchise or doing a sort of franchising relationship is sort of for ease of use and for just having the standard operating procedures for the franchisee, right? Like you just don't want to deal with all the stuff of setting things up and knowing how to do things and stuff. You just purchase the model. You purchase everything from the franchisor that tells you exactly what to do. You just sort of carry it out, and it's really much more clear. It's still going to be a pain in the butt. If you're a manager, you're owning this thing, it's going to be a lot of work, but it's a lot more easier in sort of grand scheme of things and sort of creating something that you'd have to create yourself. The other thing that is really important, and it's kind of related to that, is the brand recognition that you're going to get from owning that franchisee, right? So Starbucks has a lot of brand recognition. Everybody knows what that is. And McDonald's, everybody knows what that is. So they're going to go to the McDonald's store versus something else that you set up. So if you, within a sort of a franchising relationship, or if you're thinking of buying a franchise and they don't have any of those things, any of those conditions, particularly 2 and 3, so it's making it really easy for you to actually operate this business or brand recognition or anything like that. So if it's just kind of a new franchising relationship and it doesn't necessarily make sense, think twice. That's going to be the biggest thing. Think twice before you actually buy that franchise, because there is going to be there's not a lot of value from that. You could just go create your own business in sort of mirror or have some sort of idea that is similar to what you see what's going on, right? So at the end of the day, you have to have some advantages actually going through the franchise relationship. Now, that being said, franchisors can really add a lot of value to the relationship if they actually help out and they have a lot of procedures and they actually invest in the franchisees and build a really strong relationship and they train franchisees how to do things. That's going to be a lot of value. So if you find a relationship, if it's a startup and the person's really cool, that has a sort of franchising relationship, like cool, that you just want to hang out with them and they're going to teach you stuff and how to operate things and things like that, that is going to go a long ways, and you should really consider. And with a franchising relationship, you want to sort of court it, particularly ones that are kind of not proven, right? Starbucks, McDonald's, all that kind of stuff, that is kind of proven and you don't have to worry about it so much. But with one that's not proven, you can court that relationship and see what they're going to do. If they're going to abandon you, then what's the point? Just go do your own thing. Particularly if you're a good manager, right? So what is the disadvantages of owning a franchise? Well, the key ones is kind of this lack of control and lack of responsibility of owning that particular component of the business, right? So everything else is under your control, but the lack of control is that's important to sort of consider. Somebody else is sort of running the show, and you're in kind of a form. You're kind of like executing. You're almost like an employee once again, and just executing what somebody else is sort of told you to do. So if that's important to you, or one way or the other, you should sort of consider doing the franchising relationship. That's important. So how do you actually become a franchisee or create this sort of franchising relationship? What you want to do? Sorry, my nose is itchy. What you want to do is make sure that you that you go through the appropriate legal concerns and stuff, or go get lawyers and maybe invest in if you're kind of really you don't have a lot of money and stuff, consider not doing it, because it's going to be a burden. It's going to be really difficult to do, but you could grow a business of yourself on sort of doing much more simpler terms without going through that sort of direction. But if you have the sort of money and you're looking for something that's a lot more guaranteed, there's a lot of franchising relationships, franchises out there that are fantastic, that are just gold mines, but you're going to have to pay for them because they're hot in the market, right? So they're proven already. So things like McDonald's, Tim Hortons in Canada, I don't know. There's lots, right? So those are all restaurants, but there's lots of sort of franchising relationships. But anything that is really proven, that's going to be a gold mine, but it's going to cost you a lot of money at the beginning. And so you have to sort of weigh the risks of doing that, right? And a lot of these companies do a very, very good job of sort of vetting those risks before they get into it. You have to, in order to become a franchisee, if it's a really respectable, decent company, they're going to vet you for, for finding the right person for them to manage their business. So Chick-fil-A vets really hard. They're going to go through and make sure that you're a decent person and a good manager and things like that before you actually can own a franchising relationship or own a franchise. There's lots of sort of things to think about in that way, and then you have to sign this contractual arrangement that sort of forces you to do things business the way that they want you to do business. And then the other thing, there's always the threat. The franchisor always has this threat to sort of close you if you're doing things that they don't like. And that's going to be written into pretty near every contract, in sort of franchising relationship contract. That's pretty standard, and that should be the case, right? Because you want to protect your logo, your brand, and do all that sort of operational stuff. You want to make sure that that is guaranteed. You don't want a pile of crap of a business that somebody else is running and it's going to tarnish your business, right? So you have to have that control. And from the franchisor side, you're giving up a tremendous amount of control in that relationship, and that's something you have to consider. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. I put out as much helpful stuff as I possibly can, as well as I will see you on the next video. All right, take care. Bye.